Let's try that. Okay, we're green. I'd like to welcome all to this evening's regular board meeting of the Lakeview Public Schools Board of Education. Today, Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023, 7:30 p.m. at the boardroom at the Weed Educational Campus. For the record this evening, it appears that Ms. Martin will be out this evening for personal commitment. Mr. Miskelly is likely going to be tardy. He plans on being here. So with that said, moving along, I'd like to call the attention of the board the minutes of the regular meeting of April 11, 2023.
I move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Taylor. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Acting Secretary, Mr. Miners, have we any public communication this evening?
I do not have any at my place.
Student Representative Report. Good evening, Ms. Misakovich. How are you?
Good evening. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Doing well, thank you.
All right. There's lots going on as the year's wrapping up. Starting off at Lakeview, the SAT and M-STEP has just concluded. The administration would like to thank all the students and parents for their flexibility and time and hard work. We had the annual academic award ceremony, and students were honored with their academic letters, rank of wood, silver bar, and gold bar. And new members of National ICS were also inducted. Senior prom is May 4th at the Italian Cultural Center Thursday. AP testing has started and it's going to go through the first 2 weeks of May. And Lakeview is hosting their first annual wellness week. And it will take place the week of May 15th. And it's focusing on various activities on mental and physical health. Really great for students this time of year. NWA testing will also take place the week of May 15th. And the senior awards night is May 17th at 6:30 in Shawville Auditorium. The last day for exams of seniors is May 19th. And the senior exam week starts May 22nd, and the rest of the seniors last day is the 26th. Our senior class party is on the Detroit River Princess Cruise on May 26th. So hopefully there'll be lots of people there. I'll be there. Ardmore, they are also sick of the weather like the rest of us, and their MSTEP is starting for third to fifth grade. They're planning their spring day and field day for their third grade Peace Fest. At Greenwood, they're also doing MSTEP for third, fourth, and fifth grade, and they're grateful for PTO for providing snacks for the kids. Kindergarten and first grade are doing kindergarten or NWEA next week. And construction is moving right along. They're enjoying the big trucks getting close up to the building. And they're also having an assembly this month with Joe Riley, and he'll provide students with earth care kits. Greenwood also started their green team back up this year, and they earned emerald status and hope to achieve evergreen next year. Harmon, their students are also NWA testing, and they're hosting an autumn flower fundraiser pickup on May 5th. For anybody who ordered flowers, they'll be available in the grassy area on the south side of the building. They're crossing their fingers for a nice day. And their construction is also in full swing. And at the Early Learning for Childhood Center, Miss Brady's chickens are hatching. Each year she gets eggs shipped to her, and she puts them in an incubator in her classroom. So far, 7 have hatched, and they said by the time we're reading this, there should be more. And Miss Brady's room, all the other classrooms come and take little tours and things to see it. This month, they're learning about life cycles and animals, and all the classes are taking a field trip to the Detroit Zoo in the next few weeks. They're focusing on empathy as their character trait, and they're celebrating National Teacher Appreciation Week, and they want to say a very welcoming thank you for their amazing teachers and staff. That's all.
That's a lot. Thank you. Once again, a lot of things going on here, and a good chunk of it is going on with the senior class right now, huh?
Oh, it's so crazy.
Can you believe it's time? Awesome. Any comments for our student rep this evening? None? Great. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Miskelly. Okay, moving on with the agenda, the Board of Education Administration comments. Comments from the board. Anything this evening? None? Administration?
Oh, yes. End of year recognitions and honors and activities have started. Our Lakeview students and staff are well represented already, and it's only the beginning of May. State budget process is still underway. The House and Senate now have both released a sample of what they believe should be their perception of the budget. So the two will have to get together, decide ins and outs of that, and pass something on the floor, I guess, of each. And if they aren't the same, then they go to conference committee and work out some details and hopefully pass the same version of something, which then goes to the governor for signature. So there's plenty of time left to offer your opinion about how the state budget should evolve. One of the most special academic awards that is delivered at this time of year every year is called the Macomb All-Academic. Sort of like in the sports world, we have Macomb All League, All Conference, whatnot. This is the Macomb All-Academic, and it includes all the high schools in the county, parochial, charter, public, et cetera. And district best students are submitted as possible honorees. And again, this year, Lakeview has an honoree by the name of Ava Costalis. I think someone on this board might know that young lady quite well. Congratulations to you on your daughter's recognition there. Saturday, I don't know if Isabella mentioned it, Saturday we had an autism walk at the high school, and a bunch of our staff, a bunch of families, some community members participated. Some games, some fun, very good time and recognition of that issue across the country. So appreciate all the folks that were involved in that. She did mention teacher appreciation. One of the days this week, I think, was principal appreciation, or maybe last week, and teacher comes next, and then, there's a sequence of those. So Lakeview doesn't, run a month of this. We run a week, and it's all staff appreciation. And we will have some, token recognition for our staff, all staff, in the form of a large box with a number of smaller items inside that our staff will be able to consume at their leisure throughout the week. I'll just put it that way, in recognition of our appreciation for their hard work. Anything else, anybody?
So we're currently working, there we go. We are currently working on scheduling, processing students' schedule request, which goes hand in hand with us establishing staffing for the following year. So as a result of that, as a result of a few retirements that are coming in, some additional positions that we've identified for next school year, you're going to see postings that are already up for next year and will be continuing to be added. It is our goal to post as early as possible to be able to secure quality staff on the front end as far as we can. We know that there is teacher shortage, there is staffing shortages in all areas, and so when we know that there is going to be some openings, we're posting them as soon as we can. So I encourage you, if you know people, send them to our website. We do all online hiring. That whole process of applying is online, and have them check our websites and check it often because we're continuing to add additional spots there. So that is there. The other thing that families, we want you to keep an eye out is the district. This is our first year with one-to-one, our initiative, and so there will be some end-of-year process. The thing that we've decided here is that if you're a returning student, you will keep your device, and that will stay with you through the summer, and you'll be expected to keep it in good working order and bring it back in the fall and be continuing to use it. That's part of what we did, was it is theirs while they are a student here. But that does mean that seniors will be communicated in when they're to return their Chromebooks, because that is not theirs to keep over the summer once they've left us and walked across that stage. So stay tuned for more information out to families about the specifics of that.
To that end, regarding the Chromebooks, you hear an awful lot these days about cybersecurity and the threats therein, and bring those types of threats into your buildings with external devices, and it contaminates your network, and all of a sudden you have a problem. How often do we do the updates to the software on those machines?
It's quite often, it's a regular, and it automatically pushes to those devices.
When they're in the,
Yep.
in the network itself?
Yep, they come in and they're automatically getting those. They also are pretty locked down. They're not open access with those. Even when they're off-site, it doesn't allow them open access, which is a little bit different than when we first started and we're in the throes of COVID and giving everybody devices. We learned things as we've gone, and so we're much more careful and have a regular update process.
Cool, okay. Anything else?
Little sports update. We, believe it or not, spring sports, some are getting ready to start their state tournament in a couple weeks, even though we haven't had much spring weather. That we've pretty much played most of our events in weather like this. I don't think, maybe 1 or 2 days where it's been nice. So our athletes have been put through the elements, so to speak. But boys baseball team currently in first place in their league. They were supposed to play today, of course. They're playing a doubleheader tomorrow. We have soccer that is lost, I believe, last night, so they were tied for first place, so they have another chance to beat St. Clair when they play down here, and if they beat them, they'll probably be tied for win the league championship. We have also a young lady who is in the running for Miss Softball, correct? There is an online vote, and we need everybody's help. I'm going to be pushing that link out on our social media. And if she is one of the top vote getters, she would move into the semifinals, correct? In the top 4, and then that helps determine who would be like Miss Softball in the state of Michigan. So, so Mr. Paulson mentioned her all academic. She puts the student athlete to the perfect definition. So I'll be pushing that out on social media, and if you can vote, and I think you can vote 100 times in 7 days with your email. So if you're bored at work, sit there and click. So, but good things. Hopefully next week it's supposed to be 70 degrees, and maybe our athletes can have some nice spring weather to actually play in.
It would be timely, thank you. Any other comments from the board? Nope. Thank you all. All right, moving on with the agenda to item F. She just left too soon. Approval of tentative graduation list for the class of 2023.
Commencement for all Lakeview Public Schools graduates will be held on Friday, June 2nd for Lakeview High School seniors, and on June 13th for Lakeview Virtual School seniors. Both ceremonies to be held at the Lakeview High School auditorium. This time, Board of Education action is requested to approve the list of tentative graduating seniors for Lakeview High School and Lakeview Virtual School. This list may change as final grades come in.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the tentative graduating class of 2023 for Lakeview High School and Lakeview Virtual School as presented. Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Baer, support by Mr. Asha. Discussion on the motion.
What are our tentative numbers of high school and virtual graduates?
Just over 300 Lakeview High School, 20-something virtual.
Oh, we're back indoors still, so that's a good thing. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Item G, bond project discussion.
Administration is pleased to share that bids as it relates to the high school addition and renovations were received 2 weeks ago and are close to estimated budget from the design phase review. Those contractor recommendations are on your agenda later tonight for a consideration. Further, Ardmore and Princeton Elementary projects are nearing completion, and the new facilities will be open for use when school opens in August 2023. Harmon and Greenwood projects are underway with some site and storm work already done, foundation work to follow. This means we are ready to consider future projects that would start in spring 2024. Representatives from administration, the design, and construction team came together to review what could become the next group of potential bond-funded projects. I believe it is important to refer back to the previous board dialogue, originally reviewed in October 2022, which framed around a document named the Bond Project Prioritization Worksheet. This worksheet, updated to reflect information and estimates different today compared to when it was first discussed in October, is provided as a reference again. I would like to open up the floor for additional dialogue or comments from board members as it relates to the future projects the district should consider for spring 2024. We did have a question earlier through email, just to, help everybody know which items we had in October that are really no longer on that list. So we'll put that up on screen here and there, I think, right? And the highlighted yellow section of what's there. We want the highlighted yellow one first. So I think it's probably easier to just touch on those highlighted ones and then move, to the document that has those removed. Media Center and the Renovate Media Center the idea was we were going to bump a wall out at the back of the Media Center at the high school, capture the back end of what is a multi-purpose room right next to the Media Center. We call it A19, and the stage area that's been there for 60 or 70 years is really not used for anything. So initially in the bond 2019 dialogue, that was a concept of a way to expand maybe the media center and its use for, partly with hardline wired computers. And again, with all the laptops in hand, the need for that type of space wasn't the same anymore. So we thought that's not something we want to worry about anymore. Renovations for athletics program. This is actually captured in some of the projects that we have as farther off somewhere else on the lists. That was initially, it was when we first had the bond, and in spring 2020 we looked at the pool, the entrance to the pool, and some windows for the pool. We still think that's something we will do with a pool bid, independent, because we have to do mechanical units, we have to do filtering systems, we have to do the air circulation equipment if we're going to keep that pool open. So we know that's something we believe we need to do, and at that same time, we would incorporate those concepts we looked at and bid actually in 2020, but couldn't do because we were shut down. So we removed that as a separate line item. Resurface gym floor, that's happening in the bid pack with the high school. So it's not that it's not being done, it's just having it independent on this list. It's in your recommendations for later in the agenda as bid pack 9. Power to support technology items, power for electric strike doors. These are sort of miscellaneous things. We know what doors we have strikes on. We know what places we want to have technology and power. I think these were just placeholders. They're sort of, spots that were in the original Treasury application, but in hindsight, those are probably already addressed and taken care of in all the projects designs we have. And the last one, Chromebook purchase, again, that is budgeted in some technology projects that are still to come. This is focused on construction, not technology projects. And so that is captured under other budget line items that are not being affected by our decision-making tonight. So we don't need to, sort of talk about that issue because it is going to happen. in a couple of years, we'll have more computers that we buy for staff and kids. But we do have budgets set aside for that, independent of construction budgets. Does that make sense for everybody? So those are the things we just, didn't want to distract from the dialogue tonight. So we removed those from the document you saw in email, and we'll have as part of the next screen is just a little shorter, but exactly the same otherwise.
Question, the numbers that we're looking at here, does this reflect the architect and construction manager costs included, or is that over and above this?
That's separate, and those things are budgeted for as well. So these project costs are specifically, what do we want to design, and how do we want, what priorities do I want to use that last pot of money for that is construction specific? The architect's fees, Barton Mallow, Nova Environmental, asbestos removal are still in another pot of funds that are specific to those, because we know what those contracts are. It's based on the $54 million bond.
Okay.
Yep. Good question.
I had a quick question on the last slide. You don't have to go back, but it was column 3 where it's athletic improvements right now, but before it was wish list. Is there any sort of timeline for the wish list items?
Well, I think if we continue the discussion, we'll find out that we think those items should get done with some other things that are on that bond 2024 projects list.
Yeah.
We think that we can do that and those 2 items that are there.
Yeah.
It makes sense to do them, I should say.
Right, because, there were only 3 items on the wish list, and on that same column is the turf and the track, and I'm sure
So we-
Mr. Zabrowski can attest to this. There's some spots on the field and the track that are just downright dangerous.
And our team had, great dialogue about that for the last couple of weeks, actually. In the end, that total of 2.3 million, we know we have that and then some, based on unallocated, defined funds that will be on hand, even after you approve high school project at 5 point whatever million it is. We know we can cover that. And so in the bond treasury application was quite a bit of money for furniture and equipment. Replacing lots of classroom furniture throughout the district. That's not necessary. We don't have to do that. You don't know that in 2019 necessarily. And there were, other places where there were equipment, furniture type items where it made sense to put them in the list, but you don't necessarily have to do it. And those aren't things that are necessary to do, and we don't see that as something that's worthy of, we don't need to take a perfectly good desk and replace it. We do need to take things that are worn out and replace those. So we believe the 2024 projects column and both of those athletic improvements should be under consideration for spring 2024 projects. Because there's a lot of, continual, billings coming and payments are going out, right, continuously as projects are worked. We think we're in the $3.8 to $4 million range of available funds from bond only. You take 2.3 and you add 1.8, you're at 4.1. Both the track and the turf included with bleachers, because bleachers are in the first column. There's no reason, it makes no sense, I should say, if you're going to build a set of bleachers and tear that field up and tear that track up by doing it, you don't replace those, 12, 14, 15-year-old, facilities at the same time you do bleachers. It makes perfect sense to do that, even if we have a couple $100,000 gap in funds, because we have a couple of $1 million in capital projects, we have a big fund balance, we know state funding coming for 23, 24. I mean, between the House, Senate, and Governor, all their proposals are more than what we projected. So I don't know that we're going to be in a situation where we have a pinch for cash, that's because that, $200,000 on $55 million budget, even if it was general fund dedicated, is pretty nominal to question whether we would do those two things, because they're very visible, very meaningful. I mean, we have multiple league champion teams playing in these facilities year-round. We got community use of those facilities, right? Lots of walkers just on the track, the little kids that are playing in the rec leagues on the field. And that's what we wanted, right? When we went from grass to turf, the whole goal was we don't have to restrict the use that like we did, 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
And we host track meets as well.
Yeah.
And I also view it from a liability standpoint, in the
Sure.
sense that if someone falls and gets injured because of a pothole,
Yep.
so to speak, on the track, I
Yep.
think that's bad news. So that makes sense. I appreciate that.
So unless the board, because this is, this was your work from October as far as the priority list. And all the things that are there are things we think we can accomplish because we made modifications, haven't we? For one floor addition for the high school puts us in a better position, even though all these other projects, because of inflation and labor costs and all the other things that surround it, even though those meant we were over what we wanted to be on the elementary schools and the middle school, the changes we've made, the modifications, and we still are in the spirit of what we wanted to accomplish. Updating those elementary campuses, expanding the middle school, expanding the high school, expanding the elementaries. We did all the things that were the concept discussions throughout 2019. And some board members weren't part of those, but the spirit of the discussion at this table in 2019, in coming up with what should be on that list, we've made it. These things we wanted to do as well, and it's, fortunate that the decisions along the way to be prudent, and, remember the roof line decision, is it slope versus flat? Well, sloped is, $20,000 more. All of those prudent decisions along the way for 3 years put us in a position to say, we can still do it. So our recommendation, and we got Bart Mallow's reps here, Mike McKay, we have Vicki and Darren from PIA, and our whole administrative team. Our recommendation is we go for all of it. If we fall a little short on funding, we cover it from either general fund or capital projects, because it should be a nominal difference, $200,000 or $300,000 at the most. We're hoping, and who knows, if the economy goes in the next 6 months and we go to bid, we might get better pricing than what we put in here. Because those prices were, escalated in the fall, assuming we would have escalation on all of them from what was originally set up, right? That was part of our discussion this week. So we don't think we're far off on the estimates, just, in terms of where it might land. And they're, from a 5 points, the estimate for the high school and the renovations, the addition and the renovations was 5.5 million, and that bid, when it's all said and those bids came in, we're at 5.6. About $60,000 or $70,000 off the estimate from, months ago. So that's a good sign in terms of economy, contractors, big turnout for contractors on the high school. Some categories, 8, 9 vendors bid.
I think we had 12 painters.
Electrical and mechanical had big, large, 5, 8, yeah. Some of them are pretty isolated, like kitchen equipment. There's only 2 vendors in the state. They both bid, but you're not going to get 10 in that category. So I think those are good signs for the future, what we could face.
With respect to the vendors, I think I probably know the answer to this, but are there any of the vendors that are on the radar screen for this project that were part of the Ardmore-Princeton debacles?
No.
None? Perfect, thank you. That's a sore spot. It's taking way too long. Any other comments from the board?
This one, correct, this one, I'm clear. So the pool will be a separate thing to do down the road, or what, how are we gonna?
That's on this list, the pool mechanical, that's on part of it's in the inside of this. It's just about timing. We've been working behind the scenes to get that mechanical, well, there's a couple of pieces. One is you make it work in the space it's in. You know, we have limitations to the structure, right? We gotta, if you can't meet state code exactly, you can get waivers, and we're in the process essentially of seeking a waiver because some of the piping we have is, you know, smaller than it should be for the size pool, so there's some behind-the-scenes details. But we think we're gonna get a waiver, and we're gonna be able to then put that out potentially before the rest of this list as a separate, smaller bid pack.
I mean, this
Yeah.
is great, this is wonderful to see, fully supported, thank you.
Just athletically speaking, I see we have track and turf and pool. I know that weight room has got a lot of athletes in it. Are we doing anything with that?
That's in your bid pack 9 approval for later this meeting.
I fought for that addition.
Okay.
Trust me, I was,
Great question.
And I just wanted to say that I actually had a conversation with one of the teachers, Mr. Threet, who coaches softball and football and whatever else he can coach. Great person. He talked about a really great fundraiser to help out with, like a weight room where all the athletes would participate and sell one lottery ticket, and we do a big lottery. And, it could generate like $40,000 for the winner, but that's to come. So he is in the planning of some great fundraising for the community and all the athletes as well.
And those types of things will be faster than later because the bid pack 9 sequence of work, I think we talked about whether we might be able to do the weight room hallway area in this summer. So that's, we'll have to get with the contractors that might be involved in that particular set of work and deal with it. But yeah.
Awesome.
Any other comments? Okay.
Anything to add, lady and gentlemen?
The only thing I would say is it's not just a one gym, we're refinishing it both. And then, what's the logo on the? Just the high school. And then we just need to know what logo is going on the field.
Oh, here we go with that again.
Right? No logo right now, but might be the Husky head. Permanent sponsor might pay for the logo.
Lakeview Huskies at Barton Mallow Field.
Port Huron Northern redid their entire gym floor, and they sold squares. And like, there's a Coney Island up there that is on their floor, and they paid so much money, and they spent, $100,000 or whatever it was, and they got 10 sponsors, and they're on their gym floor, and that's how they repaid their floor.
The MHSA allows that?
It's not on the playing surface, so it's kind of off to the side, so they're able to do it, but.
Outer boundary.
Okay, interesting.
So it goes on the scoreboard instead.
So I guess our desire tonight, because it doesn't demand action, if we do this, we're gonna do, the architects are gonna go, busy to, start getting busy tomorrow. If everybody feels like thumbs up on this idea, what we provided, and that will allow us to, start running forward. Because it's a short window of, even though it seems like it's pretty early to be talking about bidding for '24, we want those bids for approval probably November or December for next spring's work, if we have, any way to do it. And that means it's a lot of design, well, not all of it, because some of it we have done the design work on, some of the pieces, but ultimately, it's a tight order to turn all of this around and have it bid on the street, back, reviewed, and then approved by you all, so we can start breaking ground in spring of '24.
Awesome. Any other comments? Good? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to general. Item A, resolution for the proposed Macomb Intermediate School District 2023-2024 General Fund Operating Budget.
In March 2023, the proposed Macomb Intermediate School District operating budget was distributed to the local districts for review and consideration. On April 13th, 2023, the proposed budget was reviewed with explanation to representatives from most of Macomb's constituent school districts. It was unanimously approved by the local school district board representatives in attendance at the MISD budget hearing and overview. Mr. Bayer attended the April 13th MISD meeting on behalf of Lakeview. Under the revised school code, the Macomb Intermediate School District must have its general fund operating budget considered and approved by each individual Board of Education within the Macomb County by June 1st, 2023. This evening is recommended that the Lakeview Board of Education approve the resolution for the proposed Macomb Intermediate School District 2023-24 general fund operating budget. A full copy of the MISD budget was provided to the board previously for consideration.
Mr. President, I move that the Lakeview Board of Education approve as presented the resolution for the proposed Macomb Intermediate School District 2023/24 general fund operating budget.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Taylor. Discussion on the motion. Mr. Bear, thank you for taking your time out to go attend the meeting at the ISD. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item B, Girls Lacrosse Cooperative Award, or I'm sorry, approval.
At this time, administration bring forward for consideration the addition of a cooperative girls' high school lacrosse team to begin playing in the spring of 2024. Since 2021, Lakeview High School has been in a cooperative agreement with Lakeshore High School for boys lacrosse, with Lakeshore being the lead school. During this time, the interest in creating a girls' team has grown at both schools, and the number of girls wishing to play lacrosse support the addition of this sport. Lakeview would be the lead in the agreement and would be responsible for all costs associated with this program. The addition of this cooperative program permits the Macomb Area Conference to offer a league schedule for girls lacrosse, as this will meet the minimum number of teams required in MAC bylaws to sponsor a sport in the league. This allows the girls to play for league championships and get recognized at the end of the season for being all-conference by the coaches in the sport. Girls lacrosse is a Michigan High School Athletic Association sport. In order to have a new cooperative agreement recognized by the MHSAA, approval is needed by both Lakeview and Lakeshore's Board of Education. Approval for this program will allow the team to participate in the MHSA-sponsored state championship tournament at the end of each regular season. Therefore, administration requests formal approval of the Girls Lacrosse Cooperative Agreement per MHSAA regulations as presented.
Mr. President, I recommend to approve the creation of the cooperative girls lacrosse team for the 2023-24 and 24-25 school years, with Lakeview being the lead school for the duration of the agreement.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Taylor, support by Mr. Miners. Discussion on the motion. Good stuff.
Just out of pure curiosity, how South Lake is going into the St. Louis Shores?
They haven't offered, don't have any interest, like student interest has not been there, so,
I'm just,
Yeah.
St. Louis Shores, and I just figured, you could do one player that counts as
yeah.
inclusive of everybody.
And we can always add them at some point if they ever say, hey, we've got some girls that want to play lacrosse. Once this approval takes place, if they wanted to add, it's a pretty simple process that the board from Lakeshore or Lakeview would not have to approve. It would just be some paperwork on our end. And then just for clarification, it's listed for 23-24 and 24-25 because that's the duration of the first term of the agreement. So after 2 years, we renew the agreement. No board action is required. It's just a simple approval signed off by myself, Mr. Paulson, and Mr. Capla, and the principal, superintendent, and AD at the other school. So it's a continual renewal, but this is the first step to get it going.
Good stuff. Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Personnel, item A, changes in personnel.
Tonight, administration is bringing forward the following changes in personnel since the last presentation to the Board of Education on April 11th. Resignations: Dana Adrudowski, Administrative Assistant, Wheat Preschool; Rebecca Radomski, Elementary Special Ed Social Worker, effective at the end of this school year. Secondary Summer School Returning Principal, Anthony Savali. Elementary Summer Learning Program New Principal for Sessions A and B, Joseph Troball. Secondary Summer School Teachers as listed. On the back page, we have our elementary and middle school summer learning program teachers for both sessions A and B is listed. elementary summer learning program teachers for that are just doing special session A, elementary summer learning program teachers who are doing just session B, Schedule B returning coach and sponsors as listed, Schedule B new coach and sponsor, Alora Frontera, Lakeview High School tennis junior varsity girls B team coach.
Mr. President, I move that the Lakeview Board of Education approve the changes in personnel as presented.
Support.
Okay, and we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Mr. Miners. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, moving on to item B, extended contracts, high school counselors.
Administration is requesting that the 22-23 contracts for the 3 high school counselors be extended by 2 days to be used to finalize student records for the 22-23 school year. It is also being requested that the 23-24 contracts for the 3 high school counselors be extended by 3 days to be used before school begins to correct student class schedules and assist seniors with graduation requirements for the 23-24 school year. Lastly, administration is requesting a total of 6 additional workdays during the summer for high school counselors to work with enrolling families to complete the scheduling process. 6 separate dates will be scheduled with 1 counselor on each date. The days worked will be mutually agreed upon with the high school administration. Contract extensions are being requested for the following staff members: Laura Arnold, Julie Meyer, and Jackie Sorgelus.
Mr. President, I recommend the Lakeview Board of Education approve an extension of the 2022-2023 contract by 2 days and the 2023-2024 contract by 3 days for the Lakeview High School counselors Laura Arnold, Julie Myers, and Jackie Sorgelos for 5 days as presented, and approve a total of 6 additional workdays during the summer with 1 counselor on each date to work with enrolling families to complete the scheduling process.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Taylor, support by Mr. Miners. Discussion on the motion. On that one item where they're working 6 additional days, that is theoretically 2 days for each of the 3 people, correct? It's
It
not
could-
6 for each.
No, it's 6 days in total. Some years it may be 2 of them work all 6 of them if something happens. Sometimes it's a combination of the 3.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Extended contracts, middle school counselor and middle school social worker.
Administration is requesting that the 22-23 contracts for 1 middle school counselor and 1 middle school social worker be extended by 1 day to be used to finalize student records for the 22-23 school year. It is also being requested that the 23-24 contracts for 1 middle school counselor and 1 middle school social worker be extended by 4 days to be used before school begins to work on student schedules for the 23-24 school year. The days will be mutually agreed upon with the middle school administration. Contract extensions are requested for the following staff members: Emily Bulsky and Verdell Rickett Brunson.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve an extension of the 2022-23 contracts by 1 day and the 23-24 contracts by 4 days for Jefferson Middle School counselor Emily Bulsky and social worker Verdell Rickett Brunson as presented to finalize student records and work on student schedules.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Minor, support by Ms. Taylor. Discussion on the motion.
I had a quick question about this one, and actually about the last one as well. I don't see anything in here. Is pay adjusted for this?
Yes, so they are paid for those days in addition to their contract based on their per-day diem, and that's different for where they are stepwise and lane-wise, so it's specific to the employee who works it.
I figured, just wanted to.
Yes,
Clarify.
correct. Good clarification.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? carries. Curriculum, item A, Lakeview High School Football Team Camp.
The Lakeview High School football players would like to attend a team camp at Grand Valley State University in Allendale, Michigan. This camp includes 2 nights and 3 days of team bonding with intensive football skills training and gives exposure to life on a college campus. Players will run through daily practices in addition to working on conditioning and strength training exercises. This opportunity will give our players a chance to improve their knowledge of our schemes while helping them to work their way into a better condition for the upcoming season. Approximately 40 to 60 students will attend this outing with varsity coach Patrick Freet and 3 other staff member coaches. Transportation will be provided through Blue Lakes Charter and Tours departing from LHS on Saturday, July 22nd, 2023, and returning home on Monday, July 24th, 2023, following a stop at Michigan Adventures on the way home. The students will not miss any school as the trip will occur over summer break. The estimated cost per student is $320, which will be paid by the family of the student. Fundraising opportunities will be available to help with the cost of the trip. Sean Zaborowski is here to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. President, I recommend that the Board of Education approve the LHS football team camp at Grand Valley State University in Allendale, Michigan, from July 24th to the 24th in the year 2023.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Taylor, support by Mr. Asia. Discussion on the motion.
I have a question. $320 per player, do the coaches pay their own way as well?
I can find that out for you. They might be, it might be if they bring so many kids, the coaches are free. I don't know that answer, but I can find that out. Send it to you guys.
Fair enough. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Bond implementation, item A, bid package number 9, Lakeview High School edition.
Yeah. Item B under curriculum.
I'm sorry. Auditorium facility rental rates. My bad.
The administration is bringing forward a recommendation to increase district facility rental charges, including Schaublin Auditorium, in order to cover current district employees' salary rates and benefits. The updated rates have been revised to be in line with the current non-affiliated position 5% on schedule wage increase approved by the board on 11/15/22, as well as current retirement, FICA, Social Security, and benefits costs. These new rates will take effect with the 23-24 school year beginning on July 1st, 2023.
Mr. President, I recommend that the Board of Education approve the updated district facility rental rates, including Schaublin Auditorium, to become effective on July 1st, 2023.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Miners, support by Ms. Taylor. Discussion on the motion.
Does this include, like, the Green Hornets play, like they pay 2 pages fees?
For the Green Hornets, because they're a community-based organization, we do not charge them for the field usage. All they pay is they pay our labor rate, so they're required to have a custodian on site at all times and a site manager, so someone who can open the doors, open the gates, kind of knows how we process that. So that's what they pay for, but we, for any type of, St. Clair Shores Parks and Rec, same thing. We don't charge them to use our gyms for youth basketball during the winter because they're part of a youth organization and they're really not a for-profit.
Is that the same as for the soccer, East Side Soccer Club that plays here?
East Side is different. If they're using it, we will charge them for their practices, things like that.
We have the designation for nonprofit and profit, so that's that other delineation that we have in there. If they're a profit organization making money and they're charging people, then we're not giving them free use of our facilities.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we're back to bond implementation, item A. Bid package number 9, Lakeview High School edition.
Tonight, administration is recommending award of contractors for bid package number 9 related to additions and renovations to Lakeview High School, which is to be funded from the 2022 bond fund. Starting in March, this bid package was advertised and bidders were solicited as law and district policy requires. Ultimately, 77 bid proposals were submitted in a variety of categories on April 13th when they were publicly opened and read aloud. Multiple bidders appeared in each bid category, which suggests the process yielded good competition for the summer-fall 2023 work to begin. Barton Mello Builders, with the assistance of Partners in Architecture, assisted administration in evaluating the proposals and conducting post-bid reviews with the apparent low bidders, and in several cases, the second apparent low bid. Our team has arrived at the most qualified low bidder in each category. Each has demonstrated success in school and commercial buildings in the past. Following contractors are being recommended for award as listed. Therefore, administration recommends award of contract for bid package number 9 to each vendor listed above, totaling $5,602,605. Representatives from Barton Mallow and Partners in Architecture are also here to answer any questions from the board.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the bid award amounts in bid pack number 9 totaling $5,602,605 for the addition and renovations to Lakeview High School as presented.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Taylor, support by Mr. Bear. Discussion on the motion.
I got a question.
Mr. Ashen.
It's for concrete, I mean, what is the volume alternative? What is that? What's the VOL alternate 1, alternate 2?
So it's a voluntary alternate number 1 and number 2, so you can,
We didn't take either of those voluntary alternates. They're $200,000. Yeah, so I think one of those voluntary alternates was winter conditions, and they concluded that they did have that in their bid today. So that's probably where that number's coming from. I mean, I don't want to say, I just want to say work orders like 50,000 or 60,000, but they want to add more, but they're so low. That just seems unbelievably low. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know how they're doing it for that. Yeah, based on their qualification, they had everything based off the post bid. I'll be watching it. Thank you.
What is that, what's your impression?
$200,000 low bid, I guess, if you go from 400,000, and the next one is 600,000, and it's 750, like, where are you getting concrete tiles there for that, where are you getting that much lower? That's definitely, I'll be honest, that's an insane, really low price. Well, I don't know if their labor's that low, but that just seems. You gotta understand too, the concrete, scope is foundations and interior flat work. The site work contractor's picking up the exterior, concrete. So, and the site work, asphalt work, stuff like that, so, that's kind of, it might be, a differentiation as well.
Where we were 2 years ago on a lot of the per unit costs and a lot of these things, has the cost come down?
Yes, we're seeing it come down drastically, actually.
Can you throw a percentage at it? 10%, 5%?
Yeah, probably 10% as compared to 25, 2 years ago.
Okay.
From what I've seen.
Okay.
You background check on all these guys? Yes, absolutely.
Any other questions?
I can give you an example. So in the conveying systems, they're $3,000 difference, or, $400, I should say. But the one elevator company proposed a hydraulic system versus what was spec'd. So we took the other one for a couple of reasons. One, Otis does our maintenance and service already, but we don't want a hydraulic system if we can avoid it because the oil and all of those things that come into it. So when they don't do the exact what is spec'd, they try and say, oh, we're going to spec this. That's where the post-bid reviews come in, and we say, no, not so quick. For $400, we're going to go to what is spec'd, and Otis is known to us. So I mean, that's just an example. Like when they're that close, we're looking at little things like that to say, okay, why would we take one versus the other?
And just to add on Sean's comment, Lexus Trucks was not a part of the specification.
Fair enough.
When you look at the specs on the concrete, did they have it all, all itemized, like the cost of the concrete, the cost of the rebar, et cetera, et cetera? And the costs, were they, where was the big differential?
I think the big differential was, again, between, and the other thing was the demolition of the canopy out there. We put that in the site work contractor, so a lot of the concrete contractors picked that up. So there's a canopy there that's probably maybe 100 feet of canopy that needs to be demoed. A lot of the concrete contractors picked that up. So that's where when we post it, we get that justification, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
So if they say, hey, we picked this up, well, we go to the site work contractor, which that was in their scope, and the site work contractor said, oh, we picked it up. Well, that's a double dip almost. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
And then what we'll do a lot of times in this, we'll get unit pricing for, how much is your concrete per square yard, right? Because then we might say, hey, while you're here, we've got 4 flags of concrete that need to be replaced. Can you do it, price it versus with your unit pricing? Because, and we might not pay for it out of bond, or we might, but if we see something that, hey, they're here, it's going to save us some money because they're already pouring concrete, we already know pricing where they don't go, oh, yeah, it's $10,000 per flag, and we're like, well, wait a minute. So a lot of times those are built into any type of addition to protect us for not getting, the prices jacked up because they're on site.
Is that perpetual pothole going out of the pool parking lot over the sidewalk out onto Leavenmouth Road, is that going to be repaired?
No, I'm sorry.
On
The what, say that again?
the perpetual pothole, every year it seems to work out, it's all along the whole sidewalk as you're leaving the pool area parking lot.
Oh, yeah,
Football stadium.
that will be part of our work that we'll be doing on that all that asphalt area. If we get, we're going to have to redo part of that asphalt with all the work that's being done in that courtyard. But at some point, we're going to, if we do the work that the board said for us to go forward with, we're going to have to redo that whole east end parking lot, or because it's going to get torn up. So that'll be part of that work.
And it's not the same, we cold patch that 2 or 3 times a year.
Right. And all it,
Rockwood Road, right at Jefferson's got,
Yeah,
we
it's-
cold patch that 2 or 3
yeah, and all that is that's just snow plows. You get a little, and they're just, when they're pushing it, then it gets bigger and bigger, and we have to patch it, so.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
5-1. Okay. Go get them, thank you.
This Friday night walk or Saturday night?
I'm sorry?
When you do your walk, was it Saturday or Friday night? You check the site.
Oh, I'm always going through it.
It's a Friday night joke, I think.
Oh, no. No, it's a random thing.
That's right.
Totally random.
8 days a week.
All right, moving on to business. Item A, HVAC preventive maintenance and service contract.
Tonight, administration bringing forward a recommendation to award contract with William E. Walter Incorporated for district-wide HVAC preventative maintenance and service through June 30, 2026. Beginning in March, a request for proposal was advertised and bidders were solicited as district policy requires. Using the statewide bidding website, 110 companies received notification of the advertisement. 2 different vendors contacted administration with questions for additional information, and only one of the 110 chose to do a short, limited site visit. Ultimately, 3 vendors submitted pricing on April 12th when they were opened and publicly read aloud. Administration reviewed the bids and held post-bid interviews with the apparent low bidder, which was William E. Walter, the district's current HVAC contractor, and as expected, the maintenance program and CSD1 boiler inspections would continue to match the level of service that the district has come to expect since 2005 from William E. Walter. William Walter also provided in their submittal a detailed schedule of service to be completed for each piece of equipment throughout the district, an annual CSD1 boiler inspection, which is required by law. They have served the district well since 2005, as demonstrated by the company's high level of service, ability to address HVAC issues in a timely manner, and continued ability to repair minor problems as they arise due to routine preventive maintenance inspections. Therefore, tonight, administration is recommending award of the HVAC preventive maintenance and service contract to William E. Walter Incorporated based on the following. They are low bid when all projected HVAC RFP components are included. They have demonstrated successful work in the district since 2005. They provided the most complete, in-depth narrative descriptions for preventative maintenance services to be performed, far exceeding the other submittals. Their experience and knowledge of the district's building and equipment and reference context were all positive. In summary, administration recommends award of HVAC preventative maintenance and service pricing contract to William E. Walter at an annual price of $131,571 through June 30, 2026. It should be noted, unit pricing for several common repair services was also solicited and can be used for service calls throughout the term of the contract.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve award of the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning preventative maintenance and additional service work pricing for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2026 to William E. Walter, Inc. at the amount of $131,571 annually as presented.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Taylor, support by Mr. Miners. Discussion on the motion. I have a question.
Sure.
Is the word preventative or preventive?
Just depends on how you want to say it.
I've seen it printed here on both
Yeah,
ways, too.
it's preventative. So William Walter provided this. This is their binder that they gave us. We have probably 5 copies of this since every time they bid, but they bid it just like they're bidding it for the first time all over again. So they don't take it for granted. They don't assume that they have the job. They take the time and they submit it as they're trying to win the job all over again, which is good. And as you can see by the bid results.
We call for manufacturer's spec on preventive maintenance. So if a unit says 4 times a year filter, 2 times a year filter, belt check once a year, whatever it's called for on the manufacturer's side is what we ask for them to do. And, that's pretty robust when you talk about 500 units throughout the district. Classroom, small unit, wall mount, big rooftop units, pool, semi-trailer parked back there. So pretty substantial.
And you can see by the bid tabs that are attached, they're significantly lower. And when we did the post-bid interview with them, their response was, we know your buildings, we know what it takes because we've been doing it, and we can be very, very efficient in getting all of these things done. So it was kind of a no-brainer.
Awesome.
And this is, the price is, there's no increase in this price. So this is a 3-year, like each year, there's no 2% increase or whatever. It's the same price for 3 years.
Good stuff. Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we get into we'll take the 2 votes back to back regarding closed session, and then we will go into recess and then come back into closed session. Item A, request for closed session, student expulsion, long-term suspension recommendation number 2022-23 RL.
Mr. President, I recommend that the Board of Education approves the request for closed session to discuss the Step 9 long-term suspension/expulsion discipline recommendations for student 2022-23 RL.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Minor, support by Mr. Bear. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Miners, yes. Was it Mr. Bear that?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Aisha?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Muskelly?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Aye. Okay, and then secondly, we have request for closed session, student expulsion, long-term suspension recommendation number 2022-23 JM.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the request for closed session to discuss a Step 9 long-term suspension and expulsion discipline recommendations
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Taylor, support by Mr. Miners. We'll go into closed session. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Miners, aye. Mr. Asha?
Yes.
Mr. Miskelly?
Aye.
Mr. Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Aye. Okay, for the record, it is now 8:38. We will go into our recess until 8:50, at which point we will return in closed session with the first one, number 2022-23 RL. So I ask that the guardians and the student be in the boardroom at 8:50, please.